Hey everyone, and welcome to the Climate Career Kit podcast. This is your host, Aishni Garg. If you are a high schooler looking for direction in climate change related careers, tune in to every episode for advice from the diverse leaders in climate jobs today and learn about new and exciting opportunities that you can pursue. Today's guest is Brendan Anderson, founder of Climate People, a climate tech recruiting company. We are so excited to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so impressed with what you're doing. So congratulations to all your hard work and keep it up.
So to start us off, what is your company and what do they do?
Thank you. So Climate People is a recruiting company. So what we do is we help companies find the right talent for their open positions. And then we also work with job seekers to help them find the right job for themselves. So we're a middle person, if you will, between both a company and a job seeker. And we provide the service of really creating the match between those two parties.
Got it. So what does a day-to-day look like for you in this company?
That's a good question. A lot. We do a lot of different things. I'd say for me, my average day, I probably am split up between 5 major tasks that I do during the day. First of all, and we'll probably talk more about this, but Climate People works just in the climate tech ecosystem. So that is such a growing field, and there's so much new technology and there's so much new research and scientific work that's happening there all the time. So I'd say the number one thing that I do is I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of research to understand what's happening across the entire climate ecosystem. One thing that I say to all of the customers I work with and the candidates that I work with is our job is so much fun because we really get a front row view of everything that's happening across the climate ecosystem. So we know a little bit about a lot of different stuff, which is really cool. So that's one of the things that I do, spend a lot of time doing reading and research. The second thing is working on building relationships with organizations that we could potentially partner with. So we do a lot of work with venture capitalists, company founders, and then other organizations that are also working within the climate tech ecosystem, really with the idea of trying to find companies that need to hire. And then the third thing would be actually when we're working with those companies is really doing the work of recruiting for those jobs, which is really a lot of research on LinkedIn, research on other platforms, talking to people to understand what their career goals are, what their skills are for that, the matchmaking. I'd say the fourth thing is facilitating the interviewing process. So when we are working with a company and a job seeker, it's coordinating interview schedules, preparing people for interviews, taking feedback after the interviews. And I think the really fun part of the job tends to be at the end when a company wants to hire a candidate. We actually get involved in helping with the offer negotiations. So we're kind of like the agent, if you will, to get involved in that negotiation process. We do it every single day, and job seekers don't do it every day. And so we're really good at that and helping them maximize their income opportunity with each job that they take. And then I'd say the last part of my job is I manage a team. So I have marketing and recruiting people on my team, and so working with them collaboratively every day as well. So it's a busy day.
Yeah, it sounds very, very busy. So what inspired you to create Climate People?
It's a good question. So I've been a recruiter for over 20 years. And I wasn't working in the climate space, but I grew up in Vermont. And if any of the folks in your audience know who Bernie Sanders is, he is a senator from Vermont. But when I was a kid, and obviously he's a progressive leader and across many different causes. When I was a kid, he was the mayor of Burlington, Vermont. And I grew up about 15 minutes from Burlington. So it was just growing up in that part of the country. Nature was very important. I was an outdoors person. Everybody I know at that time, we were all outdoors people. And the just progressive environmental policies were really a part of growing up there. When I got into my career, I wasn't working in climate. I wasn't working in sustainability. And so as I grew older and had a family of my own, I realized that I wanted to make a difference in this space. And actually finding a job was a really hard thing to do. And that's when I realized that for me, the best thing that I could do, the biggest impact area that I could have would be to use my recruiting experience and help other people get jobs to work on climate. And so that's really what inspired me to start Climate People about 3 years ago in 2020.
Yeah, of course. So you kind of touched on this briefly before, but how exactly does this job connect to sustainability?
Yeah, so we basically, we're not making anything. So what we do is we partner with the companies that are. So we work with companies that are creating solutions that are addressing climate change. I'd say generally our customers would fall into three categories. They're either directly reducing emissions or involved in mitigation of greenhouse gases. They're removing carbon dioxide or other greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. Or they're building technology to help address climate resiliency and climate adaptation. So those are the types of customers that we work with to help them recruit top talent.
Wow, yeah, that's very interesting. So, what did your journey from college to the creation of your company look like? Like, what things did you do in school or in your jobs previously that helped you get to where you are?
Yeah, this is a good question. So I was a history major in college. So I took a bit of a circuitous route to start a climate technology company. As a history major and an education minor, when I was coming out of college, I actually wanted to be a high school social studies teacher. My dad was a college professor at a small liberal arts college in Vermont, and I just thought I was going to follow in his footsteps. I didn't find a job right out of college in teaching, unfortunately. So I ended up starting to apply for entry level positions in New York City. I went to school in New York, so it was right near New York City. And I fell into my career in recruiting. I ended up both loving it and being pretty good at it. And I'd say that the thing that was most helpful for me, at least academically, was having a liberal arts background. I think it really helped prepare me for my career because I learned a lot about critical thinking skills. I learned a lot about how to do research and how to analyze information and how to synthesize my ideas and put them together and then to communicate those ideas to the different people that I would engage with, which in this line of work was really everybody, right? Like we don't make anything. So we collect and gather a lot of information from a company. We collect and gather a lot of information from a job seeker and have to be able to organize that information and communicate it to both sides. So I think that liberal arts education really helped me. And I'd say the last piece was in college, I took on a lot of leadership opportunities. And I think that certainly prepared me when I went into the workforce. I had developed myself as a leader while I was in school.
Yeah, of course. So, what advice do you have for someone who wants to pursue a job in climate recruiting?
I'd say it's a pretty niche field. So whether it's climate recruiting or climate investing or climate technology, I think really follow your passion and what is it that you're really good at. I think recruiting specifically, whether you're doing it in climate or whether you're doing it outside of climate, that's a people business. And so you really have to like working and dealing with people all day, every day. And not everybody's like that. So if you're a more people-oriented person, I think recruiting is a great career. Clearly, we're going to need people to work in recruiting for climate specifically. But if you're not a people-oriented person, but you're more mechanically inclined or electrically inclined, like you should pursue the jobs, of course, that you have the most passion about.
Yeah. So, kind of piggybacking off that question, are there any resources or opportunities that you can direct high schoolers to who are interested in any sustainable career?
Yeah, for sure. I think following your passion, I would say, is definitely a key place to start. And I know that, I was thinking about that as it relates to when I was a high schooler. I have two kids that are both in high school right now, and I honestly couldn't tell you exactly what those two were specifically passionate about. I know they have some things that they're interested, but it's a journey of discovering the things that you're really ultimately most passionate about. I would say thinking about what are the kinds of things that you enjoy doing. One piece of advice I have generally for high school age students is there are a lot of different paths, not only to success in life, but there are a lot of different paths to work in climate or work in sustainability. That doesn't mean that you have to go to college. The Inflation Reduction Act, this major piece of legislation that passed, that has significant investment from the federal government in climate. There are millions of jobs that are going to really good, high-paying jobs that will be created from the Inflation Reduction Act that will be electrical positions, so electricians and HVAC installers and heat pump installers and solar installers. So you don't necessarily have to go the college career route. Of course, if you want to, there's all kinds of amazing jobs there. I would say mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, process, like those types of jobs, that we need millions of those people in climate. So it doesn't just have to be, I know you're in the Bay Area, right?
Yeah.
So of course there's lots of software, right?
Yes,
a lot of people pursue careers in software and computer science, which is great. There is definitely some of that in climate, but there's a lot more of these hard engineering and scientific types of roles. But then there's a lot of jobs that don't necessarily require you to have that academic background. You can go get an electrician, and trust me, ask your parents, like ask them how much it costs for an electrician to come to your home, and they will tell you these people they make good money. So I'd say that that's one piece of advice. The other piece was a friend of mine actually started a company called PathMatch, and it's a really great tool, mostly for college age kids, but I think high schoolers can take a look at this. It's an app that basically helps align young people with the things that they're really interested in, and it helps them align to get the right kind of major that is going to align with the job that you're going to be most happy with. Unfortunately, a lot of people graduate from college, they have a lot of debt, and then they have a hard time finding a job in the thing that they majored in. And this app is a really great tool to help young people try to align the things that they're interested and good at with the types of careers that are out there. So I would also recommend PathMatch as a tool and a resource for high school age kids.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you so much for your time and your insights. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
And to all the listeners, make sure to tune in to the next episode of the Climate Career Kit.